Rock Chat with Trace.
This interview I'm talking to Nick Hughes from the Middlenight Men. Hello Nick, and thank you for doing the interview.
That's not a problem, thank you very much for having me.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. I've strained my back by lifting about 1,000 vinyls up the stairs, but I now need to try and find people to sell them to. So hopefully they won't be here in my house for too long, but we'll have to see.
What music was you listening to as a child, teenager?
Oh, I mean, that's really easy. There were three main bands for me. Third place on my cassette playlist back then was the Black Crowes over in America. I loved those guys, but it was mainly the sort of underground British rock scene. So it's very much Terrorvision and Wild Hearts for me, which I think you can hear a lot of in the influences of the album. So yeah. I remember when I was doing my GCSEs, I was performing Terrorvision songs back when I was 15, so now I play with them sort of 25 years later. It's come full circle. It's nice.
Describe the Middlenight Men.
Okay, yeah, so this is a difficult one, and every magazine write-up I've seen seems to start with we're not really sure how to describe these, which I hope is maybe an indication that we might have found a little niche in the market. But what other people refer to it as is, it's very much in the power pop rock genre. But whereas a lot of my influences are leaning towards the sort of heavy rock, I don't shy away from the glistening, glitter bomb pop songs that I've grown up liking. I like a decent pop song and I like heavy guitars. So people say it's very similar to if Weezer was a pop punk band in the 2000s, and it's very, very much like the Wild Hearts. It's a heavyweight backbone of instrumentation with 5-6 part vocals on top. So if you imagine if the Beach Boys were in the heavy metal scene, it's pretty something similar to that, to be honest.
How did you come up with the name?
That's a very interesting question. I was struggling for ages. I was going through some really awful names, and I'd written a song, like the first or second song I'd written, which was quite a dark song. Now, most of my songs are really happy. I don't like singing about dark things because I just like positivity in music. And there was this line in it which was talking about, and I closed my eyes again and thought of those mournful Middlenight men, which is kind of referring to sort of the images that come to you in your dreams that you kind of want to run away from, but in your dreams they come to you. It was like, that's it. I mean, I don't really want my band name to be based on such a dark, depressing lyric, but I really liked how it worked phonetically. I liked the alliteration of the Middlenight Men. It sounded really cool. And then it kind of just tweaked that, actually, you know what, it sounds kind of, I think to begin with it was like, it sounds like a gang of highwaymen, so maybe I can do something quite cool. And the first imagery about the album, and I haven't told anyone this yet actually, but the imagery was very much around like these highwaymen who were sort of going down this dark wooded road, and it was going to be something a bit more sort of macabre. But and then I can't remember what moment it was, I started thinking of the Avengers, and the thing about this band, it's very much like the people who I work with, they're all in lots of other good bands. I don't expect people to be on my beck and call, but I imagine it to be this sort of community like the Avengers. So you'll have a certain episode, and maybe one of them isn't present, and they're going off and doing their own thing, and we'll celebrate that solo journey. So it was trying to embody this idea that it's a community of people who are very close knit. They're all interconnected, but they don't have to be there all the time. So and that's where it came from.
Who are the members in the band and how did you get them on the album?
Okay, so I knew who I wanted as the core band from decades ago. I knew I always wanted Leon, who currently plays with Status Quo. I met him in university when I went to Leeds Uni, and we've played in bands together for 20 years. I actually moved to London. Well, actually, I went to London from when I was living in Leeds, and I went to do an audition for this kind of cool sounding rock band, and I walked into a rehearsal room, and Leon was sat behind the drum kit as well, and it seems like we've been destined to play in bands for years and years. So yeah, I played with him for 20 years. Andy, who produced it and also plays guitar in a live band, he's recorded me in a band called The Role Models quite a few times, and yeah, we've been friends for 5 or 6 years. And then the other people I've met and played with on the road, and the main reason I wanted to play in bands with them, other than that they're excellent musicians, is I just really like them as people. And this whole album was supposed to be around positivity and these pop sensibilities with smiles and stuff. And it's like, I love being around you. You make me smile. So one of them, Scott, who's the live guitarist, me and him play in tribute bands. I play in a My Chemical Romance tribute band. He plays in a Fallout tribute band. And we've been on the road together, and we hadn't even spoken many words to each other. But, you know, when people have a certain aura about them and they light up a room, it's like, I haven't really paid attention to whether you can sing or play guitar, but I want to be in a band with you. And it just so happens that he was he was good, which is good. And then it's Liz on sax. Every project I do, Liz comes and plays sax. We both play in Television together. And so yeah, it's just this collection of people who I've picked up over the years. And the band, to me, it goes further than just musicians as well. It's more a creative force. So you've got Luke, who's done the design work, the artwork on the record, and you've got my friend Joe, who helps create all these crazy videos we do. To me, they're as much part of the band as anyone else. Like the latest photo shoot we did, there's only 7 people in that photo, but my whole idea was to have about 12 or 13. It's only because of lockdown we couldn't get around everyone, but it's not just about the musicians, and it's people who I've collected over the last 20 years. So I've always been, I want to be in a band with you, and now I can because I decided to write some songs.
How did you come up with the artwork?
So again, this kind of came off the back of, right, okay, so Luke, who I remember meeting we were probably about 5 or 6 when we met, but we were in the same class at secondary school, and the first day of year 7, I sat next to him, and he'd done a doodle, and I bought it off him for 50p. It was just really cool. Back then, 50p to an 11-year-old was a lot. That's my chips for the day. But we lost touch at least 20 years ago. Maybe, 22 years ago. And I hadn't spoken to him much at all. But I'd always remembered his drawing and his illustration. And this is why I love social media. I'm able to go and see what people are doing, not in terms of I wonder who they're dating now, but in terms of I remember that talented person, I want to go and see what they're doing with their lives. And he was carrying on his design work, and I saw all his comic book artistry, and that's straight away, it's like, we haven't spoken for 20 years, but can you do the artwork? We started going down the idea of this Highwaymen thing, and I think it was when I was looking at his portfolio, and he had all these cool superhero and super baddies, and it's like, what am I doing? Why am I telling you what I want? I want you to tell me what you want to draw, because I find that with illustrations, with anything creative, even tattoo artists, I don't go with an idea of what I want to get tattooed. It's like, what are you good at? What looks good? And it's as much a representation of their own work than it is representing my album. So then he just went away with an idea, and tell you what, I didn't expect it to be so good. It was, I knew he was good, but it's incredible. Yeah, I love it.
Explain the album.
Okay, I mean, there's multiple ways I could explain it. In terms of how it came to be and what product it is. You know what, I wrote a song, the last time I wrote a song before this was back in school, and it was awful. It was total rubbish. And back then I just decided, right, I'm not a songwriter. And so when anybody says, how come you don't write songs? The last 20 years, it's been because I'm not good at it, I'm awful at it, and I just want to play other people's. And I liked going out and getting drunk and playing gigs and not having to worry about that creative element as well. And I also put a lot of pressure on myself as well for things to be good. And then I can't remember at what point, for some reason, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try and write a song. I decided to just investigate what my songwriting process would be, and I started humming tunes to myself on the way to work, and in the end it was like, oh yeah, well, okay, well, I can hum a good melody, I can wonder if I can put something else around it. So then in the end it was like, right, okay, I'm probably only going to do this once, because I still don't have a lot of confidence in my songwriting. I'm only going to do it once, so I'm going to try and squeeze every single little influence that I've had in the last 40 years and squeeze them on this album. And for me, that can be pretty much anything. I mean, Wild Hearts I was brought up on, but I like Meatloaf, I like McFly, I like Busted, I like My Chemical Romance, I like the Beach Boys, and I like Taylor Swift. And it's like, right, I'm just gonna, and I like musicals as well. I really like musical theatre, and which is why things like Meatloaf and MCR really rung a bell with us as well. So it was like, right, okay, well, I'll write 10, 12 songs. I've got more than 12 influences, so I'm just going to have to try and put multiple influences into multiple songs. And I think I was quite lucky with that approach, because if I had less influences, or I wanted to write more songs at the time, I'd have probably just taken one and tried to maybe replicate a song like it. But in the end, it was let's just put it all into every song, every single influence. And so the album is quite a Frankenstein of influences, but because of the people around me, the people who have actually turned it into something plausible, it sounds kind of coherent as well. It sounds like a single product, but going through the demo stages, it was definitely not a single product. But yeah, so that's how we came to be with the album now.
Is this album more of a side project?
Oh, God, it depends who's asking. You know what? I set off with this in both my mind and the mind of others, but it was a side project. Again, probably because I was trying to play it down to myself. I didn't have to put up too many hopes on it. It's certainly going to recording process, talking to Duncan about it. I was, that takes a lot of time, and I love doing that band. And I didn't want him to think that my commitment to that band was anyway less because I wanted to write my own songs. So I certainly started out as a side project. I'm so invested emotionally and creatively and financially now in it. It's got to be seen as my main thing. Having said that, I don't feel any of the other projects I work with can be classed as a side thing other than the tribute bands, because I love playing with Duncan, and the occasions I get to play with Terrorvision, they bring me as much as excitement as doing this sort of stuff. I'm just going to have to find more hours in the day.
What's your favourite song on the album?
I've got like 8 joint first favourites. Someone asked me this yesterday. They're so different, because some are 3 minutes and some are 7 minutes. And the first couple that I put out there got so well received. Like, I was amazed. I was seeing YouTube comments from people I'd never heard of saying how it was the best song they'd heard in years, and there was some comments in terms they just got what I was trying to do. It was like, this is just a bottle of sunshine, and like everything we need in the world right now. And so for those reasons, for how those songs were received early on, like Ratstar and V.A. Babe, I'd release another one, or I'd work on another. And I'm lucky that probably out of the 10 songs on the album, I think 8 of them I can listen to again and again and again. The other 2 I can listen to about 100 times and stop after that. but there's one coming out. It's one we're doing a video for, and we're releasing it in a couple of weeks, and that's just pure pop, unashamed pop, rock and roll, and it's like 3 minutes. And I think a testament of a song is if you're editing a video and you've listened to it 1,000 times and you still enjoy listening to it. So the song "We All Need Help Before Tomorrow," that's track number 7 on the album, is probably my favourite.
What's the inspiration to Heroin Heights?
Very good question. So as a lot of other people, the vast majority of people, I'm still so frustrated and sick to the teeth and just ashamed to be a guy at times. I still go down the street either seeing girls on her own, or with friends, or with dates, and it doesn't matter what sort of scenario you're in, there's still a massive group of guys in society who just let us down and give us a bad name, and it's horrible, and it makes me feel sick to the bones. And so this song was all about, look, you don't need to be a superhero, you don't need to wear a cape to treat girls right. And even look at the Joker, he's a massive dick, but he can still sort of, in his own special way, he's still a massive romantic at heart to Harley Quinn. And he was mainly just going through that and trying to go through the different scenarios Like, when people, there was that horrible time when people were taking all the invasive photos on tubes, and obviously things more serious like mugging as well, like actual violence, and so I wanted to address something very serious, but I also still want everything I do to be fun. So I didn't want to downplay it. I wanted a serious message, but I wanted something that people could engage with, and then maybe for some people they'd pick up the message later on. But it was all about kind of saying to my fellow males out there who they've still got so much to learn still in certain instances. It's like, come on, like, you should be ashamed of yourselves. But also saying, look, we're not all like that as well.
Do you think feminism is an important issue to be discussed?
I do, but I don't think I'm the right person to do it, because I don't suffer from being in that demographic. I'm a privileged white male in his 30s, and I think in some instances can be seen as almost patronising or condescending if someone who's out of that direct situation has a running commentary on it, which is why you won't see me talking about it again and again and again. But I still wanted to show my support in some way and say, this isn't right. But again, like, I try and keep politics and seriousness out of my music as much as I can, because for me it's an escapism. We all have issues that we're trying to escape from, and some people use music as a vehicle to explore those feelings, and they rely on those important messages to keep them through the day, which I think is great, and I'm so glad people do that. My approach with music is actually more about, I want to give escapism from the stuff that people want to sort of just forget about for a little bit. The very important stuff, but they just need a 3-minute, 30-second escape from.
How does the band sound compared to other bands you've been in?
Very similar, because as I was saying, it was a combination of all the influences that I've come from, and I'm lucky enough that I've ended up playing in some of the bands that were my favourite bands as a kid. So Duncan has taught me a lot about power pop writing. He was in The Boys. They were influences to many, and I'm really grateful for kind of going through that writing process with him. And then looking at bands such as The Role Models, who are much more punky. I always went to Duncan and said, look, I love your songwriting, it's absolutely amazing. Can we make it a bit more heavy, like The Role Models or something? And then I'd go to another band and say similar. So basically all I've done is I've created a centre point, which kind of allows me to, not just, people have their own ways they want their music to be represented. It's not really down to me to go to a songwriter or a band leader and say, look, we've got to change this direction. But what I can do is I can kind of take the best of all worlds and say, okay, well, this is my interpretation of it.
Do you do your own editing and producing?
So I've learnt to do a lot of stuff in terms of getting decent home demos. I do home tracking for bass guitar. I track some backing vocals at home as well. This is mainly just to keep the costs down. I really enjoy the recording process. I love going and tracking with Andy. We have a laughy. Until recently, their recording studio was a park cocktail bar as well, so we could just go and have cocktails and be with our friends and create. Financially, you've got to be a little bit careful letting it run away with you. So I edit and record my own bass. I record some backing vocals if there's ever bits which I want to fly into. But I get an awful lot of value going and sitting next to someone like Andy who can correct me and say it's not good enough, because I get frustrated in my own ability at times, and if I'm struggling with something, it's just like, oh, that'll do. And if I wasn't in the environment with him producing it, then there's no it wouldn't be half the album, because there'd be loads of mistakes on it that he pulls us through 2 a.m. He'll be like, no, you're doing that bar again. So yeah, no, I don't, but it's an amazing skill, just not one that I really have.
You've been a musician for the last 20 years. What's the most important lesson you've learned?
Easy. Be nice. Like, you can be the greatest guitarist in the world, which I'm not. There's hundreds and hundreds of better musicians out there than me. But if you're nice, if you're a good person and you can play a little bit, then opportunities will come. I mean, yeah, I'm not a terrible musician, but I'm aware of my limits. Advice I always give to kids who are asking, I'm always saying, just be aware of your limits. It doesn't mean you can't push yourself, but if you go and try and join, a a heavy metal band who are incredible guitarists playing a million notes a second, and you can't do that, you're not going to get a lot of jobs. I myself, I like playing, I like playing clever but simple parts, and I like getting drunk on stage, and you can't do that in intricate bands where you've got to play a million notes a second. So be aware of your limits, be aware of what you actually want to achieve and what sort of band you want to be in, but be nice, because the second you're not nice, the next person's in there and you've marked your card and you won't be invited back to other things. Oh, and then also party, because you meet loads of people at parties, and that does offer opportunities as well.
What have you been doing to keep busy during lockdown?
Oh man, that's an easy one. So I've always had a fascination with the moving image industry, and especially like music videos really interested me, and film in general. But I always saw it as I saw it as an expertise that I could never get my head around, and like I understood it, but to be honest, some of the romance about it was I didn't fully understand it, so I could just kind of watch films or watch certain music videos and not fully get how they did it, but be really impressed with it. And then it came to lockdown, and I was like, right, okay, so I was supposed to be doing a launch gig, and I was going to be getting friends to do videos. I'd shot 2 videos already beforehand, but quite small scale. And when I'm working with other people on videos, I'm really scared of putting across my creative idea, because my creative ideas are ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous. And so I don't really want to embarrass myself by sharing these with these professionals. So I decided that, right, okay, well, I've got an idea that I could do. It was a video BA Baby. And it was like, it kind of makes sense mathematically in my head, because if I put people on a screen and I kind of tell them to talk at angles, then I can script it, and then you know what, I feel I can do a simple edit to it. So I went in and did that, and you know, it was lockdown, so I was sending Amazon deliveries all over the country, and instructions on how to set up mobile phones, how to take decent video, and I'd send backdrops and face paints and stuff to them. And then we'd be on painful Zoom sessions. Not painful for me, painful for them, because I was like, oh, can you? I know you spent the last 2 hours painting yourself green, but your eye blinked at just the wrong moments when you were filming that bit. So can you go and do it again? And like, they were all really enthusiastic to begin with, and I know some of them didn't want to talk to me by the end of it. But I learned that I could actually create something in terms of video editing quite simple there. And people who I've known for ages, who are like professional editors, they're like, dude, that's your first thing, you should carry on some more. And then just before lockdown hit, I sat in a bar down the road, the night before in fact, and I'd been talking to my director friend about Heroin High. I was like, I know these 2 cosplayers who are really at the top of their game. And we actually it must have been about a week before, because it was the next week that we met up with them in a pub in King's Cross, and we're like, we've got this really stupid idea, but do you fancy doing it? And it's this 10-minute video, and it's all this stuff, and we had all these ideas, and it's like, look, you know what costumes you've got, so let's go with what you think. Again, going back to the whole people know what they're best at. And then we spent the next 6 months of lockdown, like writing it, getting all the extras ready, getting all the props and stuff. And then as soon as we had that little break around August time, we were able to go in and film it all. And then since then, and lockdown came back, we have been really lucky in the sense that you're allowed to film as long as you're going through the correct protocols. The Department of Culture and Media and Sport have published quite clear guidelines that you can do it, but you know, make sure you've got PPE. If you can film outside, etc. So we're like, right, we're gonna do it. And so we've learned so much. It was like, right, the next video we're gonna make even more stupid. What can we do? Oh, let's blow people's heads up. And so the next thing we got coming out, I tell you, I was being embarrassed about putting it out, because I put a post up on Facebook and said, look, it sounds really stupid, but we're doing a really dumb video, and we're superheroes, and I've got this guy who's going to have energy balls, and we want to throw it at someone's head, and we want heads to explode. Does anyone want their head exploded? And I had tons of people replying on Facebook saying, please explode me, please explode me. And I'm just hoping now that people aren't going to think there's some hidden meaning and, oh, why are they exploding these girls, for instance? It's like, they want their heads exploded. They keep on messaging me saying, please kill me, please kill me. So the next stage over Christmas was kind of to learn all these visual effects, and we're trying to wrap it up for the moment. We've taken a lot on, but we've suddenly created basically a shit marvel. and it looks amazing. I can't wait to share it with people. I hope people are as excited about it as we are. But that's what we and I have learned over lockdown to do videoing, and I've loved it. Love it.
Where can people buy the album?
So there's 2 places you can buy it. I won't go off on my Spotify rant. It's not on Spotify. I'll stick it on there in 6 months or a year. The singles are on Spotify if you want a little listen. You can go to the middlenightmen.com/store to purchase the albums or the t-shirt. You can go to Bandcamp to buy the albums. Now, if you live in Europe, I recommend going to Bandcamp. It's cheaper postage. If you want to buy more than one thing, go to Bandcamp. It's cheaper postage. My website just sucks in some things. It's really cool. It looks cool, but it's not very good at combining postage. The only reason the t-shirts are on there is I'm going to run out of the inventory needs to. Oh my God, I'm boring myself talking about inventories and websites. Just go to the Middlenight Men website, buy it. You won't regret it.
Anything else you want to mention?
Yes, I would love to mention that we currently have a gig scheduled for In Our Dreams, the 11th of June. Now, I'd be very surprised if that happens, but there are only 200 tickets available for it. If it gets moved, then automatically I'll just give you a refund, no problem. This will sell out. It's going to be incredible. Get tickets while you can, and if it moves, it'll be valid. If you get, then we'll give you a refund.
Where's it going to be held?
It's going to be held at the Camden Assembly, the old Barfly in Camden. When they turned it to the Camden Assembly, I walked past and I thought, this looks such a rubbish place. And I went to see Ryan Hamilton play there, and oh my God, it's beautiful what they've done to that live gig room. So yeah, straight away it was like, I want to play there.
The Middlenight Men released issue 1 on the 12th of Feb, and I'd like to thank Nick for joining me for this interview.